Can people change? Can a person change? That's our question tonight. Can you change? Can I change? Do we want to? What about us should change, could change? My name's Martha Burich. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I am a motivational speaker. Also, I have 35 years in behavior change. I was a psychology professor. I was a high school science teacher. I've had a varied and fun background. And today I'm reading the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Dr. Frankl was an inmate in the concentration camps, and he lived to tell the tale. Only 3 out of 100 lived from the concentration camps, and he was one of them because of his determination. So let's get into this. Can a man change? How can he change? This is the story of Dr. J, the mass murderer of Steinhoff. How can we dare to predict the behavior of man? We may predict the movement of a machine. More than this, we may even try to predict the mechanisms or dynamisms of the human psyche as well. But man is more than his psyche. Freedom, however, is not the last word. Freedom is only part of the story and half of the truth. Freedom is but the negative aspect of the whole phenomenon, whose positive aspect is responsibleness. In fact, freedom is in danger of degenerating into mere arbitrariness unless it is lived in terms of responsibleness. So let's go back and talk about Dr. J. Every human being has the freedom to change at any instant. Man does not simply exist, but always decides what his existence will be, what he will become in the next moment. All right, so let's find out about Dr. J. He's the only man I ever encountered in my whole life whom I would dare to call a satanic figure. At the time, he was generally called the mass murderer of Steinhoff, the large mental hospital in Vienna. When the Nazis started their euthanasia program, he held all the strings in his hands and was so fanatic in the job assigned to him that he tried not to let one single psychotic individual escape the gas chamber. Now, they lost track of him after the war, and he was never heard from. Dr. Frankl thought maybe he had, moved to South America, made his way, but then he found out that Dr. J had been imprisoned behind the Iron Curtain in Siberia, and then in another prison in Moscow. So while Dr. Frankl was examining another prisoner, the prisoner asked him, whether I happened to know Dr. J. After my affirmative reply, he continued, I made his acquaintance in Lubyanka. There he died at about the age of 40 from cancer. Before he died, however, he showed himself to be the best comrade you can imagine. He gave consolation to everybody. He lived up to the highest conceivable moral standard. He was the best friend I ever met during my long years in prison. This is the story of Dr. J, the mass murderer of Steinhoff. How can we dare to predict the behavior of man? How interesting. He changed, did an entire 180. In fact, freedom, and I told you that, so let's go to this. A human being is not one thing among others. Things determine each other, but man is ultimately self-determining. What he becomes within the limits of endowment and environment he has made out of himself. In the concentration camps, for example, in this living laboratory, and on this testing ground, we watched and witnessed some of our comrades behave like swine. while others behaved like saints. Man has both potentialities in himself. Which one is actualized depends on decisions, but not on conditions. What is he telling us there? He's telling us that no matter what our conditions, we make our life what we make of it. It doesn't matter the conditions. You know, I just came back from the treatment center. I take an AA meeting to the treatment center. And one woman was so set on telling us her litany of problems that she grew up with and talking about how her parents were drivers. Well, this one was 30-something years old. You know, there's a point where, guess what? You're grown. You have to make decisions how you're going to live. It doesn't matter what your parents do. At a certain age, it doesn't matter what anybody else around you does. It's what you have to do. So what are you going to do? You know, yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here. There's only one moment. There's only one moment that you can make a change. That's now. This minute. This minute. What are you going to do in this minute? Yesterday, to talk about yesterday, you're wasting this moment. This is your life right now. This is my life. This minute is our life. It doesn't matter what we did yesterday. You know, you're a salesman. He's only as good as his last sale. And he can't you can't live off the commissions of his last sale. He's got to continue to sell. He's to make more, to continue, to move on. So who are you and what's the meaning of your life? You know, I told the story yesterday of a man who came into AA and he hated everybody and he was so negative. It took him 6 months to smile, but he had this belief that people wanted something from him, that people wanted to use him because he was an intelligent man. He had a good job. And I guess that he was in a position that people wanted things from him because of his position. And he was very, very suspicious and wary of everyone. And when he first came into the program, he was so suspicious of everyone. And it took him so long to realize, I don't get what's with you people. You people are weird. You don't want anything from me. No, all we wanted was for him to have a happy and good life, for him to live a sober life if that's what he wanted. And it took him so long to figure that out. But now, oh my goodness, he's a prankster and a jokester and he's so happy and he smiles all the time. But why? Because he made a decision to change. He decided, you know what? I don't want to be that person anymore. And you know what else? He looked around, but his conditions were still the same. Hey, guess what? His conditions were still the same, but he changed. This changed. His thoughts changed. He looked around, and instead of seeing the negative in people, he started to see the good in people. Before that, he always saw the negative. He never saw the good. He always saw what had to change. He never saw what was there, the goodness that wanted to help him, that wanted to be his friend, just to be his friend, just to see him have a happy and good life. And his life is completely different now. His kids avoided him completely before. His children were grown. They avoided him completely. Now they call him up for his advice. I mean, really, just thinking about this makes me want to cry. Conditions mean nothing. Don't look around at the outside. You know, if you want to lose weight, don't get on the scale and look at what you weigh and go, oh, I weigh too much. No, see the weight you want to see on that scale, and then go to the gym. Go out and walk to your mailbox. Oh, now, let me tell you this story. I was going to tell you a story last night about Diamond Dallas Page. He was a wrestler at the same time, I think, as Ric Flair. And I told the story about Ric Flair last night, so I'm not going to do it again, even though it's so great. He was a great wrestler, Ric Flair. What an entertainer. Anyway, Diamond Dallas Page has an entirely new endeavor. He helps people who are 400 pounds overweight. He helps them get back into shape. We're talking about people. There are some people who couldn't even get out of bed. One man told the story who Diamond Dallas helped. He wrote to him and begged for his help. But what happened was one day, the man, all he had was his dog. And one day the dog had to go out. And the man could barely get out of bed. He was so fat. But he found that day that he could barely get out of bed. It took him forever just to get out of the bed. so that he could let his dog out. And he felt so he had to crawl to the floor. He was in such bad shape and so overweight. He had to crawl to the door, and it must have taken him at least a half an hour or more. He felt so bad, and then he could finally let his dog out. And that was the day he said, I have to change. Something's wrong. But he couldn't. He couldn't even stand up to exercise. So Diamond Dallas Page had him exercising in bed. He started by exercising in bed. The man lost like 300 pounds. Exercising in bed. What's your problem if weight is your thing? What's your problem if you don't like your job? Why aren't you looking for another one? You could look for another job in bed. Did you know that? Get out your computer, go to Indeed. Go to, I think it's jobs.gov. Okay? They have plenty of jobs. Apply for something. What the heck? What do you have to lose? Right? You got nothing to lose. Everything to gain. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. You know, when I was at getting my car fixed yesterday, a woman sat down next to me and I was going through my purse. And, you know, she sat down next to me. I remember I looked at her and I thought, okay, I could sit here and not talk to her, or I can try to engage in a conversation and maybe she's interesting. So I said something to her, you know, something like, oh my goodness, look what I found in my purse, something I forgot I had. And then we both laughed. And then we started talking. Oh my goodness, she was so interesting. She had horses. She talked about her little granddaughter, 2 years old, leading a horse around. She talked about her 2-year-old granddaughter. She talked about her husband who had a stroke, was still riding horses, and that her horse was so attuned and so gentle. Her husband, he would be on the saddle, but then because of his stroke, he would slink back. And the horse knew enough that the horse would shift his body and would force the husband to sit back up. Isn't that amazing? I mean, look, this is an amazing thing I learned just talking to this woman sitting there waiting to have our cars fixed. But if I had not said something, I'd have never learned these things. And horses are amazing. I have horses around me in the neighborhood where I live. They're intelligent. Of course, you know, last time I rode a horse 30, 40 years ago, goodness. Hi, Monica. How you doing? Monica and I went to Ireland together. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness, Monica. Remember, we were on the ferry from Ireland to England. Oh, here's another story. And we didn't know what the heck we were doing. Oh, my goodness. We got off the ferry and we had to get on the subway, right? We didn't know what we were doing. So we get off the ferry from Ireland and there was this lovely family from India, Raja Vasista and his wife, Vay. Oh, my goodness. They showed us how to buy tickets to the subway, and then they got on the subway with us, and then we had to change subways. I mean, they took us step by step to everything until almost our last stop. These people, we had to get on the train too. We had no idea about the train. They let us sit with them on the train. Oh, they were the most wonderful people. We're still in touch with them on Facebook. Oh, that was in London. Yes, they lived in London. And they were both computer operators, he and his wife both. And they had a lovely little daughter. What was she, about 4 at the time, Monica? Oh my goodness, what an experience that was. And then we're in the subway. Monica, we were in the subway another time. Well, the subway there, they didn't have any elevators. Monica had this gigantic suitcase. It weighed a ton. And here she is trying to pick it up the steps. Well, these young men came right down the steps and said, ma'am, don't do that. We'll do that for you. And that happened again and again. I mean, it was just, people are so wonderful if you'll let them be, if you'll open your eyes and see the good in them. It's just, you know, life is so much fun if you'll let it be. So what are you going to let be today? How are you going to look with new eyes? Look with new eyes. See things and people with new eyes. Look for the good in them. And if you're really mad at someone, pray for them. Pray that they get everything you want for yourself. And guess what? It won't be long before you'll start thinking, hey, you know what? That person's not so bad. What? And then the next thing you know, you're friends. Really, it really does work. Try it. It really does work. So, you know, this is what Dr. Frankl was telling us in his book, that you can go from being a horrid person to a good person. I remember I had a student, and it was at college. I had a student, and I was telling another teacher. I said, "Gosh, he is the worst." And he goes, "What do you mean?" The kid's a great guy. What wasn't I seeing? Hmm? What wasn't I seeing? Why was I bringing out his worst? The other teacher was bringing out his best. What was I doing? See, it was me. It was me. It wasn't the child. It wasn't the student. It was me. But of course, I was too self-centered and ridiculous to even open my mind to that possibility. No, it's the child. It's the child. It's the student. But I've matured a little bit since then. When I started teaching high school, I really learned that the troubling students, they were the most troubled ones, and I really had to tread lightly around them and try to let them develop their self-confidence. I remember I would make mistakes on purpose on the board. I'd misspell words, or I'd do some math and I'd do it wrong on purpose, and that would give the kids the opportunity to develop. Miss Burich, you spelled that word wrong. No, I did. Which word? Oh, it was really cute. It was so cute to see them get that burst of self-confidence. Miss Birch, you got the wrong answer. No. Where? Where did I go wrong? Oh, it was absolutely endearing and wonderful, and the kids got such a wonderful boost of self-confidence. So, yes, you know what? Make a mistake once in a while. Maria Montessori, okay, the Montessori method. When her child was young, when they would spill the milk, she would go, "Oh my goodness, look, an opportunity. What can we do with that milk on the floor? We'll clean it up, but let's play with it first. How does it feel?" And she would have a good old time with the spill, you know? And that's looking at life with new eyes. Looking at life with new eyes. Yes, when we spill things, for goodness sakes, just clean it up or have some fun with it first. Oh, goodness. We're all so serious all the time. It's time to lighten up. And then the kids get all serious and scared. And they're afraid to make a mistake. And then what? We grow up afraid to make a mistake. We grow up surrounded in fear instead of looking for risks and fun and things to do. So now, come on. Let's have some fun. If it's not illegal or immoral, why not, right? So, and So what are you going to do today? What are you going to do today? We're about done here. What are you going to do today to have some fun, or to do something different, or to step towards your goals? What is it? You're going to call the college and find out what tests you need to take, what courses you should take, how many courses you take. Why don't you just take one? How about go to the community college? They always have these adult ed things that you can take whatever you want. Painting, speaking, whatever makes you happy, literature. Check it out. Do something different. Go to local libraries, see what's going on. But maybe you should present. You're a stamp collector. Have you been somewhere? Did you take a trip? You got some pictures? Go over to the library and say, you know what? I want to give a presentation about this. I want to share my trip. Alrighty, our day is just about over. So, you know what? If you want some help with changing some bad habits, doing some things, direct message me. I've got a program. I can help you one-on-one. We can get you to stop smoking, stop drinking, stop overeating, start exercising. Maybe you've got anxiety and you're afraid to talk to people. That's what happened to me when I was younger. I had to practice saying hello to people. And guess what? Now I say hello all the time. So, hello to you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. Alrighty, good night. Bye-bye.